Welcome, everyone. This is Recovery Dharma. My name is Julia. I'm one of the facilitators in the Spokane Sangha, and I'm so happy to be here today. The sentiment of metta that I'd like to share with you today is this bright, beautiful green painting. I love that. It reminds me of early spring. And this one reads, "May I awaken to the universe awakening within me. May I awaken to the universe awakening within me." And let that just sit for a minute. May I awaken. There's a universe out there, and there's a universe within here. May that too awaken. Isn't that a lovely thought? And it's such a grand opportunity to get curious about any resistance that might be arising. Like, what is she talking about? That universe is just strictly up there, way up there. It has nothing to do with me. And isn't that a curious perspective? Would you look at that? Friends, for the month of July, we are exploring the third aspect of the Noble Eightfold Path, wise action. Some people refer to it as right action. I like to reimagine it. In my practice over the years, I've wanted to look at the Noble Eightfold Path and really broaden the way it appears, the way it manifests in my life. So obviously, when I examine my right actions, I'm really quick to identify all my wrong actions. I have that propensity. I tend to lean in the negative. In fact, it's hard for me to bring forward my right actions. It feels kind of like bragging or boasting. And, I was raised in a Catholic place, Catholic environment where you're always supposed to be humble and modest and so forth. So there was a little bit of confusion for me in that dualistic mind between right and wrong. And I have a tendency to preface the Noble Eightfold Path using the word wise because it's, for me, the word wisdom allows space for both. Wise action is my capacity to examine all of my actions with a degree of equanimity and neutrality. And their motivation for that is because I know every time I make a mistake, every time I use unskillful speech, every time my thoughts and actions are motivated by something that hasn't been fully discerned, by something that's impulsive or reactive, I know that that becomes an opportunity for me to investigate and explore and examine. And it also is a guide for me to gain access to something that's improved, something that's more aligned with my integrity and my aspirations. So the reimagined language that I use for myself, and I would encourage you to explore what comes alive for you. When you think of right action, what comes alive? For me, I want to learn how to be real in my actions. And I also want to recognize all the ways that I can be false in my actions. So that dichotomy really helps me gain access to the wisdom embedded within all my actions. But it's a practice, isn't it? And I'd like to share with you a little sticker I make as a gentle reminder that we're not here for perfection. You know that saying, practice makes perfect? Boring. Ugh. No. Practice makes practice. That for me is infinitely more fun. I'm just always practicing. Today, for our reflection, and this is a tender reflection, so I want to preface by saying and encouraging, please be gentle. The action that we're going to explore today is something I call the gift of an apology. And the invitation for your reflection is a couple of inquiry questions. How easy is it for me to apologize? Am I quick to say, I'm sorry, without really thinking about it? I just want to get over the discomfort. Oh, I'm sorry. What is my capacity to sit with someone's hurt, knowing I'm the one that inflicted it? What is my capacity to sit with someone's misunderstanding and their process of going through it and their experience of it, whether I agree with it or not? What is my capacity to sit with it, knowing that I have participated in creating the conditions for the misunderstanding? So let me be real here for a minute. And when I'm figuring this out, when I'm exploring this for myself, I like to put it in the context of a traditional metta meditation. And for those of you who are not familiar with a loving kindness meditation, it follows a very simple pattern. And that is that you first imagine yourself and you offer yourself a sentiment, a mantra of loving kindness. May I be at peace. May I have safety and health. May I live with ease. Something, just whatever comes up for you. And then you imagine somebody who's really easy to love and do the same thing. Offer them sentiments of loving kindness. And then you imagine someone that maybe is a mere acquaintance or somebody that you encounter regularly, but you don't know their name. But you know, there's someone vaguely familiar. It could also be a stranger, just somebody you see on the street, somebody that has, you know, a minimal connection to you. And they're a human being just like me, so they could benefit from loving kindness. And so I take a moment and I imagine that individual and I send them loving kindness. And then I think about somebody that I don't like, maybe somebody close to me, but I find them really challenging. Or maybe it's someone so challenging that I actually have to deal with feelings of hatred and anger and barfiness. Ugh. And they're a human being too. And so, just like me, everybody appreciates sentiments of loving kindness. And so, the practice is to be able to sincerely offer that individual loving kindness. And I'll tell you, sometimes the only way I can do that for people who really, really challenge me is imagine them as a younger version of themselves, maybe even a baby. And you can do the same thing with reflecting on how easy it is for me to apologize. Can I apologize to myself? Can I apologize to someone I really love? How difficult or how easy is it? Somebody I barely know, somebody I don't even like. Here's where it's real. I really struggle to apologize to those I don't really like, I don't really care about. In fact, I examine the conditions where I feel righteous in my unskillfulness sometimes. I feel like my incredulousness or my indignation somehow is right. And I feel superior. And so why should I apologize? That guy's an ass, that whatever. And that could be true, actually, and not the whole truth. And maybe in that instance for me, I don't apologize to that individual, but I apologize to that part of me that aspires for something else and can't quite get there yet. I don't know. It's just something to look at. And then I also have to be real by looking at the ways that I'm false and I apologize, but I don't actually really mean it, or I kind of half mean it. I just want to get over the conflict. There's nothing to do here, friends. The action of exploring this is enough. It's to simply observe and take note of what is my propensity here. Is it a habit energy? I have in my life often not apologized to people who lean toward um, that grouping of people that I don't like, because my apology has been weaponized against me and I've been harmed in the process. And so in that instance, I set myself up to be hurt and I create the conditions for someone else to be harmful. So sometimes withholding an apology and finding something else to do, like having a healthier boundary or something, is the wiser action. But I can't get there without discernment. I can't get there without the review of my own actions. So, see if in the next several moments of silence, you can explore this in your own experience. The people you encounter, the people you love, how easy or how difficult it is to apologize. the people with whom you're sort of neutral, the people with whom you have strong feelings of aversion. Each of these scenarios affords great insight into this action called the gift of an apology. Today, we're exploring how we offer that. Tomorrow, we'll explore how we receive it. Use your breath to sister your mind. Breathe in with reverence, breathe out with care. Enjoy the wisdom, your universal knowing speaking to you, guiding you. Enjoy this practice. Friends, in the Recovery Dharma book, there's a line in it that reminds all of us that this is a program of empowerment. And one of the things I really love when I think about that is I imagine the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, a prince who threw it all off. And he wandered around for years, number of years, and he interacted with all kinds of spiritual and religious people of the day, masters. And he kind of sampled it all and was very earnest about it. He was quite devoted until one day he was just like, okay, wait, I've gained all this wisdom and I just need to figure it out for myself. So he sat and he sat. And like the human being that he was tempted. I bet he got bored. I bet he cried. I bet he cramped. I bet he had gas. I bet he felt nauseous at times, and so on. And he, for himself, figured out the causes and conditions of misery. And he could see how that translated in all the world. And when he began teaching about it and talking about it, so many people challenged him and they were like, dude, who do you think you are? And he did that very famous hand mudra, the Bhumisparta mudra. And he just pointed his hands downward, and the middle finger, the tip of the middle finger, touched the earth. And in response, he said, the earth is my witness. And friends, that's the motivation behind our intention today. May you awaken to the universe, awakening within you. Thank you, friends. And just a moment of integration and a dedication of merit. A couple of announcements that I don't want to forget. One is that on Monday mornings at 9 a.m., we meet for a 1 hour meditation. And this is all about mindfulness practices to help our spiritual, mental, emotional, physical well being. And this month, we're exploring the very big concept of duality and non-duality. And this is a means by which to cultivate the inner observer, to learn how to lean back so that we can respond to a situation. It helps build resilience. It helps nurture curiosity and wonder. And so if you'd like to join us for that, it's every Monday morning at 9 a.m. If you can't come for the first time and for only this session or for only this offering, we're making the recordings available for a Dana offering. So most of the offerings we do for free, but this one we're asking people to consider making a Dana offering. And Lo put it in the chat for you. The other thing that we've got going is a nurse practitioner is going to be doing a presentation on Friday, July 17th. And she's doing a little talk, I think it's like an hour and a half, all about the pros and the cons of psilocybin. And it's a free event, and we're going to offer it online and in person. You don't have to register for it. You just show up. If you're coming, if you're local and you know you're coming, it's just out of courtesy, let us know. That way we can kind of keep track of the numbers. But if you're online, just come. We're not going to record it, so it's kind of a one-time only thing. And when she brought it to my attention, I was very excited about it because there's so much information out there on psilocybin, and I would much rather people receive it from a trained medical practitioner versus somebody on TikTok. an influencer on TikTok who you don't know who they are. So this is a nurse practitioner who used to work with Doc, my husband, many, many years ago. So we know her well. So Lo, did we put that in the chat too? Okay, that's up there in the chat. And then Lo, just check out our Soul Center website for all the activities. If you're not on our mailing list, you can fill out a contact form. And when we have special events, we send out email flyers. I'm really terrible at email flyers. I don't like receiving them, so I don't like sending them. So, but I know that it's important to keep people informed. And so when we do send out a little email flyer, it's like a little postcard, just a little, here's what's happening. And then I'd like to bring your awareness to our meeting tomorrow, online only at 11:30 a.m. And we're going to talk about how do you stand before somebody trying to apologize? It's okay. I'm fine. All the ways that we do that, all the ways we're kind of false, and how can we be real? And how can we be open? And how can we not weaponize? So it's just another good exploration. On our website, you can access these recordings. We have a YouTube page. A shout out to Michelle in Florida, who's been taking our longer YouTubes and making them shorter. And so you can access them. And again, everything's freely offered. Please share them, enjoy them. I don't know what you do you subscribe. That's what you do. You subscribe to them, something. So do all the things, people. Do all the things. That's what I'm going to tell you to do. That's what I'm going to encourage you to do. So then last but not least is Sate Seva. So on the first and third Wednesday and Sunday of the month, so not this Sunday, but the following and next week, Wednesday, where we meet for Sate Seva. And this is 16 mindfulness practices, all about how to reimagine recovery and support. And you heard mentioned today about instruments of peace. These are the tools of Sate Seva. These are all kinds of things that we use to support our recovery and to help us become more awake, more alert, more bright, and more curious about our lives. So join us for that. Read all about it on the website if you want to. Email me, keep in touch. And I think that's it. Lo, did I forget anything? I was like, I got it. Lo does the website, y'all. She does an amazing, amazing job. She takes such good care of us. Oh my goodness. So friends, let's go ahead and end our practice today with a dedication of merit. One of the things I love about nature is it's entirely itself. I don't know if the consciousness between my sunflowers or within my sunflowers exchange conversations where they're toying with each other, they're teasing each other, like, why are you growing so straight? Why are you growing so crooked? Why can't you unfurl your petals faster? What's up with you? I have no idea if they're in competition. What I do know is that my sunflowers are entirely themselves. So is the wheatgrass. So are the bachelor buttons. So is the calendula. And when you look closer at these living beings, for instance, bachelor buttons, the petals are arranged like a crown, and the shape of these flowers are like little bells, which really look like megaphones. And I can't pass a group of bachelor buttons without hearing, I'm amazing. I'm amazing. Take a look at me. What if we embodied some of that divine enthusiasm? When I sit under my cottonwood trees and it's windy, right now the cottonwood trees are, the leaves are drying just on the very edges, which is typical of their life cycle. And so, in the wind, where they uh, clap next to one another, they really sound like applause. It's almost as if they're just clapping because they're so happy to be alive. What if we could tap into some of that joy? What if we could remember that anytime we go into the landscape and we delight in what we see, the landscape is equally delighting in us? What if we could cultivate a mind that could really recognize that level of mutuality? What would that do to the heart and to the mind? Perhaps maybe just a crack of possibility is all that's needed to let the world in. May we all awaken to the universe awakening within. Thank you so much, friends. Have a beautiful today. Namaste.